Hi all, I'm Jeanette Keynes from Jewelry Arts Inc. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to solve a really big problem with a bezel setting. Sometimes it sinks down in and then you've got too much bezel showing above, so I'll show you what causes it and how to fix it. We have this beautiful ring. Look at this gorgeous tourmaline. So basically we have a slight operator error. Basically, everything seemed like it was in the right position. When they started setting, something shifted and the stone is actually in there lower than what we wanted it to be. So if we continue setting just the way this is, we're gonna end up covering a whole lot of your stone. Now, how you can prevent this in the future, it's good to have everything nice and tight. You're going to, before I set, I take my dowel and I press on the top of this and really make sure that because I mean, that can very easily happen. If your inner elements fit tight and you don't really push on it, maybe there's a little space in there. But then when the force comes of the setting, it shifts and then you're like, oh, fuck me, it's a little lower than I thought. Which, who hasn't said, oh, fuck me, when I'm setting? This is what happens. So, we were saying before, like, yes, we can unset this. Like, we could do that. We have the unsetting tool. We have the technology. But it's already been set quite a bit over. So, yes, we could, but I don't really recommend it because we'd have to take metal that's down like this and basically get it all the way back up. Which, you know what I mean? Like when you're just a little, it's fine, but I think that would be too much and might break your stone. So all that means, what we have to actually remove some of this bezel if we want it to look good. You know what I mean? We have to get rid of some of that extra height, which we can do. We have to be careful not to hit the stone. This is pretty much exactly what we were doing just a little while ago as we were setting this very irregular opal. So we did all kinds of custom filing of the top, but even so, after we set, there was a little metal that kind of needed to be removed for it to really like look its best. So what I was saying is like, you can do it, but this is not something that you can do when you're like, I'm in a hurry and someone's calling me, or like you have to be game face, because you have to just really pay close attention to what you're doing so you don't hit your stone or whatever, okay? So first thing I'm gonna do is could somebody grab me a pair of scissors, please? Pretty please. I'm just gonna cut a piece of tape. There's some right here, thank you very much. I'm gonna put a piece of tape over the stone. Now, don't get me wrong, tape is not going to protect your stone if you take your grinding wheel and like, you know what I mean, go nuts. But it's like a little barrier so that if you hit it, you're like, oh, you know, back it up. It's an indicator, really, more than anything. I try to cut it to fit pretty well, but on the other hand, we can't have it all up inside like the bezel either. So I usually just try to like make a little windowy thing and sort of, kind of, you know. Because just like everything else, the more OCD you are in the beginning stages, the better the later stages go. Okay, so let's just take a little height off of there. See what I mean? Just like that. And like I said, this won't protect it against everything, but it's a barrier. Okay, so I'm going to use the white cylinder wheel, which is this guy right here, which is one of my favorite wheels to use because it's like just aggressive enough to remove some metal, but like won't remove too much. And whenever you're doing something finicky in particular, but just anytime, you want something that's not so tiny that it's not going to just like bounce around. Like I'd rather have something like this, even though I'm only touching one area. I know that this cannot easily just slide off the edge. That's why like a little thin wheel for something like this is actually not the right choice. Because remember, you're always trying to make it easier for yourself, not like, let me make this as hard as possible. Now, me personally, I use these all the time because I can really see, because it's bright and it's magnified, so I can really see, so that's very helpful. Also, if anything is like flying around, it won't hit me in the snout, which I appreciate. But whatever works for you is fine, but just make sure you can really see what you're doing. And you know, when you hold the flex shaft, you want to be like your arms resting on the table. I usually hold it like this with my thumb sticking out, because then my thumb sits on the piece or my other finger or whatever, so that I'm really like comfortable and secure. Any kind of like up in the air type stuff usually has tragic consequences, okay? So don't do that. And if you haven't heard my spiel on using any of these grinding wheels, anytime you're cleaning up, you want to think about you're peeling a carrot. You pick a section, you do a light stroke, you go back to the top, light stroke, because if you bounce up and down a lot, you're gonna leave pecks, you know what I mean? Just, if you imagine the carrot, literally your metal is the identical thing. So I'm always trying to think of it that way. I'm trying to get a smooth finish by removing just like little imperfections as I go. Okay, now I'm right-handed, so if you think about this, this is a clock. So for me, the easiest places to work are between, like, let's say 1 and 5 o'clock, right? Over right in here. If you're left-handed, it'll be the reverse. So what I do is I work in that convenient, controlled area, and then when I'm ready to go to the next, I switch my piece over. I very rarely like reach over the top and whatever, because that's one of those things that, like, sooner or later, again, it'll have a bad repercussion. There's always lots of naughty things you can get away with until the day that you don't. So I try as much as humanly possible when I teach you guys to like give you methods that will work every day, not just the good days. Okay, so I got my foot pedal going. I'm gonna stick this out here. So I'm gonna start with this section right here. You see how I'm peeling it like a carrot? I'm gonna let Alexis do a tiny bit of a little close up there. So you see what I'm saying? How I've taken the height down a little bit. But this is not a super fast, drastic action. This is a shave. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna shave away, look at it, shave away, until the height is basically back to where it should be. Then we're gonna go back to setting. And then after that, we might go back to a little bit of this. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay? So I'll do a tiny bit more and then I'll let you do it.
Okay.
But you can see also already, like, it's a big, it's a big difference, okay? So I want you to just work on it, like get this section done.
Okay.
And like I said, get it back to where it sort of should be to set.
Okay.
We'll set, and then we'll probably tweak it a little bit more, okay?
Thank you.
There you go, you're welcome.